All right, let's jump right in. Think about it for a second. Your car is always trying to talk to you. It's speaking a language of sounds, sights, and even smells. The only problem is, most of us never learned how to speak it. Well, this explainer, this is your decoder ring.
So yeah, what is your car trying to tell you? You know that weird noise you hear when you turn left? That little light on the dashboard you've been, kind of ignoring? Those aren't just random annoyances. They're messages. Really important messages, actually. And if you learn how to understand them, it can save you a ton of time, stress, and, let's be honest, money.
Okay, so let's start by learning the absolute basics of this language. Your car is talking. We just need to learn how to listen.
Now, what makes this so interesting is where our info is coming from. This isn't just theory from a textbook. We've pulled all this from a massive, and I mean massive, collection of real case files from mechanics all over the world. These are actual problems from actual cars, written down in everything from Arabic to French. This is the real stuff, straight from the garage floor. The first way your car is going to get your attention is through sound. Your ears are your first line of defense, really. These sounds are often the earliest warnings you'll get that something's not quite right. Learning to tell them apart is a pretty crucial first step.
Let's start with a classic. You hop in your car, turn the key, and you hear it. A steady tick, tick, tick. It's one of those sounds that just makes your stomach drop, you know? And for good reason. Digging through all these mechanic notes, it's clear that one little sound can point to several very different problems. So what could that ticking actually mean? Well, it might be a sign of low oil, which is basically the lifeblood of your engine. It could also point to worn-out parts in the valve train. That's all the machinery that lets air and fuel move around. Or it could even be an issue with one of your fuel injectors. 3 very different problems, all starting with that same simple sound.
Now, let's move from a tick to something a little more aggressive, engine knocking. This is that deeper, harsher sound, and the mechanics in our files are all on the same page about this one. It's a sound you absolutely positively should not ignore. This isn't a whisper anymore. At this point, your car is starting to shout.
So what's causing that racket? It could be a faulty knock sensor, ironically, the very part that's supposed to prevent this problem. It might be that you used some low-quality fuel and it's igniting at the wrong time. Or, and this is the serious one, it could mean a major problem with your engine's lubrication. Whatever the cause, a knocking sound means you need to get it checked out, fast. Okay, so we've covered our ears, now let's use our eyes. What you can actually see coming from your car, whether it's from the exhaust pipe or glowing on your dashboard, is just as important as what you can hear. Check out this comparison between the 2 most common kinds of exhaust smoke. For example, our mechanic notes talk about a Peugeot puffing out white smoke. That's a classic sign that coolant is burning inside the engine, which probably means a serious head gasket issue. Then they mention a Megane with black smoke. That usually means the engine is burning way too much fuel. Could be a bad injector, could even be a clogged air filter. The color of the smoke tells a completely different story. And this right here is a perfect example of a universal warning. It doesn't matter what language you speak, a flashing oil light means stop. This phrase here, from one of our Arabic sources, literally means explanation of the flashing oil light. It's a problem that every driver and every mechanic on the planet understands, and it's one of the most critical warnings your car can ever give you. So why would that light even come on? Well, the most obvious reason is a low oil level. But it could also be a failing oil pump, which is much more serious, or even just a faulty sensor giving a false alarm. The source even points out that something like using the wrong type of oil, say a 1540 blend in an engine not built for it, can cause enough problems to trigger this light. All right, so now that we can spot the signs, let's learn how to talk the talk. When you go to a mechanic, they use a lot of specific terms. If you can understand just a few key ones, it can completely transform the conversation and give you the confidence that you actually know what's going on.
First up is the French term culasse, which we see all over our source material. This is referring to the cylinder head, or more specifically, the head gasket. Just think of it as a supercritical seal right in the heart of the engine. When it fails, oil and coolant can start to mix, and that leads directly to overheating and, you guessed it, that white smoke we were just talking about.
Next is injector, or fuel injector. This is basically a tiny, computer-controlled nozzle that sprays a super fine mist of fuel into the engine. If one gets clogged or just plain fails, the engine isn't going to get the right fuel-air mix. That can cause all kinds of vibrations, poor performance, and, yep, that black smoke we saw with the Megane. And finally, the turbo or turbocharger. In the simplest terms, it's a little turbine that uses your car's own exhaust gas to spin incredibly fast and force more air into the engine, which gives it a lot more power. Our source material notes that when a turbo starts to go, you'll often feel a major loss of power, and you might start hearing a very distinct whistling or whining sound. So, you've listened for the sounds, and you've looked for the sights. You even know a little bit of the jargon now. How do you put it all together? Well, this final section is all about how to have a clear, confident conversation with a professional. Now let's be really clear about the goal here. The point of all this isn't to get you to start rebuilding your engine on a Saturday. The mechanic's notes are filled with reminders to go see a pro. The real goal is empowerment. It's about being able to walk into a garage and have an intelligent, informed conversation about your own car.
Here's a simple 3-step framework. First, describe the symptom and be specific. Don't just say it's making a weird noise. Say it's a ticking sound. Second, give them the context. When does it happen? Only when the engine is cold or only after I've been driving for 20 minutes. That information is golden. And third, share what you've learned. You can actually say something like, I saw some white smoke and I read that could be a head gasket issue. Could you check that? That shows you're an engaged, informed car owner. And that really brings us to our final thought. Every single major car problem was once a minor one. A faint tick becomes a loud knock. A little wisp of smoke becomes a giant plume. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Is it better to learn the language and listen to your car's whispers, or wait until it has no choice but to scream?